Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back. You're watching iAllegedly, and
Do you have a good one for us?
I do have a good one for you today.
Good.
And I have the one and only Economic Ninja with me, and we got a lot of stuff to cover. And
We do.
before I get into it, please take a second. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. And I've got a sponsor today, ZenZ, which I'll talk about a little later. But Travis, let's get into a couple things with the economy.
Mhm.
You know, you guys came down to the Money Show and invited me to Las Vegas to come down for a couple of days, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Great seeing you and the
Yeah.
Financial Prepper.
Yeah.
I dig both you guys. I dig everybody's style and everything. But last time we got on, I got a bunch of people that asked me and said, "You got to get the Ninja back on," and everything is up to speed. Everything. Well, I want to get up to speed with everything that's going on.
Oh,
But first thing is the car industry.
yes.
There is
Love it.
real problems when it comes to car financing right now. And, what do you think about that? You think there's going to be issues with this?
Yeah, totally. Buy here, pay here is getting really scary. Where somebody with poor credit goes to a lot and they walk away, everything's done. They walk away with the car there, they finance there, and those spots charge exuberant. I mean, exuberant. I don't even know how to say the word. It's insane how much they charge.
They
for
can
these
charge
cars.
over 20% on an interest rate
Yeah,
for some
and
of these people.
And I just heard a story from somebody that was trying to sell an older F-150 pickup for $3,000, and he kept getting talked down to like $1,500, $2,000. He goes, "What are you talking about? It's a good truck. It was a work truck, right?" And he literally put it. Somebody gave him this idea, and he goes, "Holy cow, this is a brilliant idea." He put it on Facebook Marketplace for $12,000. Wanted a $3,000 down payment, and he financed it at a good rate of like 10%, and it sold. Isn't that insane? But that shows the mentality of the consumer right now. And people are so tied to debt. And so we're still seeing car sales. One of my insiders from one of the largest national sales chains, and I got to keep his identity secret because the stuff he's sharing is blowing me away. But he says people are still lining up for cars because they just can't help themselves. And what's scary is they go, "Okay, we'll just extend that term out, or we'll mess with the financing in a way that your payment is just sort of doable." And he goes, "They're not $1,000 payments, but what's happening is," I'll give an example. A Ford F-150, another F-150, what was it, a 2018, I believe it was, went for $42,000 at a finance charge of 25%. The finance fees, the charge after everything's done, literally, I saw the docs, were like $48,000. The person's paying over $90,000 for an F-150. This is absolutely insane, but the consumer keeps telling themselves, "I have to have a new car."
Right, I have to have a vehicle. And,
Yeah.
and I have to have a payment. And, we have a huge percentage of people. There's the largest percentage of people right now have car payments over $1,000
Yep.
than ever in history.
Yep.
And even when you look back at the financial crisis in 2008, there's more people that have that right now.
True, but what else do they have right now? Credit card debt. Credit card debt is at an all-time high right now. What's crazy is that it's so easy to see what's coming next, but yet people think that their savior, the government, is just going to bail them out. Why? Because they got that bailout, that reprieve during COVID. Why? Because they saw some people got a little bit of a bailout when the banks got bailed out during 2008. Well, here's the thing that people don't understand is that the government is always the last to react, and they always react during a crisis. Well, when the crisis is happening, you've already lost your job. You've already lost your house. The reason why there is a crisis is because most people in the country have lost their home, lost their cars, lost their jobs. That's what people don't understand. And people all the time, they're like, "Well, if we're going to have massive inflation or hyperinflation, we should all get into debt." And I go, "You don't get it. The reason why a lot of that debt could get hyperinflated away is because 90% of the population of America has just literally lost everything."
Mhm.
And if you think for a second that you're smart enough to be able to pay those payments, those minimum payments, while that, again, your savior, the government, revalues its currency or pumps a bunch of new currency into the economy to get you to pay off that debt, you're high.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, here's some breaking news that's kind of fascinating, and that is Capital One, the credit card company. That's what most of us think of Capital One as. They also have the Capital One Bank, and they have checking accounts over there.
Yeah.
Okay. But one thing that they're really known for is their auto financing. And there's a real problem with them right now. But here's the problem with their auto financing is they just stopped doing floor financing for inventory. When dealerships get new inventory and they finance what's on the lot. And most people don't understand this, but when you walk to a car lot, that car that's sitting there, most likely the dealership is financing that car. They haven't paid for that car. You're going to buy that car. They're going to pay off the loan, and that's that. But Capital One, has shut everybody off with that. So that's a problem.
Well, and yesterday, the interview I did that's coming out in a couple days is showing that the guy that's really inside, Lucky Lopez, says Ally's next. Now, Ally's the largest lender for car loans in the country, but Ally's not going to stop that. He says he believes that they're going to stop their flooring financing as well. So if you have Ally on top of Capital One, what are these, think about this, what are these dealers going to do with all this bloated inventory that they have? Yes, they're selling inventory, but they have all that excess inventory that they bought in sort of a panic during COVID time that they paid way too much for. It's falling in value. They're going to go bankrupt. Similar to what we saw with golf courses. Think about this. Golf courses around the country, Google golf course bankrupt, golf course closes 2008, 2009. Watch the Google and hit news. You'll see all around the country we lost, just gone because people couldn't pay their green fees. But yet somehow this time it's different and everyone thinks, oh, we'll still be able to pay the Lambo fees. We'll be able to pay our bloated F-150 prices, our payments. But golf courses went completely bankrupt in 2008. This is set up to be so much worse than 2008. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Now, one thing we have to do is we got to take a word for you have to do a little commercial break here.
What?
So, commercial break. Okay. Let's talk about our sponsor, ZenZ from BioTrust. You know, it's anticipated that 164 million Americans do not get a good night's sleep. And I have found something that totally works for me, and it works for my friends, and that is ZenZ from BioTrust, guys. If you use the link below, dansleepsgood.com, you can get 51% off of ZenZ. Now, this is 7 ingredients to help you get a relaxed, restorative sleep at night, and it totally works. Here's the thing, guys. Take this pill 30 minutes before you go to sleep, and there's no grogginess when you wake up. It just helps you get a good night's sleep. Now, a lot of different conditions can come from a lack of sleep. You can have major illnesses that can be contributed because you don't get a good night's sleep. If you're one of these people, try ZenZ. And here's the thing about this, guys. I'm running out. And I have had half a dozen friends say, hey, does that stuff work? And I've let them try it. And it has been amazing because they've all had success with it. And success in the first night, oh, this is great. This totally works. Got a good night's sleep, Dan. Where do I order it from? So dansleepsgood.com, dansleepsgood.com. But, you know, check it out today, guys. Okay? It's one of these things that I've used that totally works. And if you or anybody you know has difficulty sleeping at night, and let's face it, guys, it's very stressful out there, try this, okay? It works really well. dansleepsgood.com. Use the link below. Now,
Are we back?
We're back.
Oh, man, that was stressful.
Okay.
I had to freeze for a second there.
One thing that's crazy about the auto financing, and I did a video a couple weeks ago about how cars are going to be 50% off. And when you look at the deals that are coming down the road and the inventory. Now, here's the thing. I know I talked to you about this and that, you know, a year and a half ago, you know, the auto dealerships were so desperate for inventory. They were paying off leases early. The record was a guy that had 9 payments left on his lease, and he drove his car in there and they gave him a check for $15,000. This guy was in Florida. He wrote me, said, my wife told me this story. I thought you were insane, but I want to thank you directly. But I had dozens and dozens and dozens of people that wrote me and said that they got rid of their second and third car and got rid of the car payment.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I had similar with people selling their homes and going, oh my gosh, I literally hit the peak. Like, thank you. I have people literally during the lumber crisis when I'm like, you know what? You may want to hold off on buying your lumber package for your new home. Just wait a few months. And I've had people come and shake my hand and say, you literally saved me $30,000 on my lumber package. I had to happen twice. Yeah. It's just, but it's timing. Like you said, it's just understanding the times, and you understand the times because you've been through this. You remember being in construction in 2006 and feeling it in 2006.
Going upside down and seeing this, you know, age, you know, you guys, I always recommend that you get a financial advisor that has seen problems. You know, yeah, there's a lot of smart kids in their 20s, but, you know, during the last financial crisis, these guys were in high school. So, you know, you need to have somebody that's done it. The realtors that know what they're talking about, that have been through the ups and downs. You know, I'm in Vegas. There's Denise Sasana, who really knows her stuff, and she she's great, but she knows that real estate could drop another 30% here in Las Vegas. So, people need to prepare themselves. But the car industry, this is going to be the next thing. That, and the one other thing I wanted to talk to you about was commercial real estate, because we both live in California.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more vacant properties. Blackstone had that building that they sold last 2 weeks ago and took a huge hit, lost 38%, owned it for 14 years, guys, didn't sell it at the peak, and got out of this.
They also gave back to the bank at a 50% loss to the bank, their headquarters, 8 months ago.
Really?
Yes, I covered that story. Yeah. So, and what I wanted, the key of that is they gave it back to the bank. Their headquarters was leveraged. People don't understand. These monoliths, they do not own anything cash. It is all a scam. It is all a Ponzi scheme. Now, their paychecks that they pay themselves,
that's real.
That's very real. And when they go broke, and they will go broke, they will all walk away with their bonuses. People don't understand how the corporate structure works in America.
Well, it's funny. Bed Bath & Beyond just went bankrupt, and they just got $230 million in finance. A bunch of people writing and say, how can a bankrupt company borrow money? They're first in line, guys. They're going to get paid off that $230 million before rent gets paid. They're going to get their money. And that's what happens with these people.
And it's secured to inventory too.
Yeah.
A lot of that, if they own a certain amount of their inventory, the banks that come in and lend, they're literally getting this stuff for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, but as far as the commercial real estate, I think that we haven't seen anything yet. I think you're seeing Brookfield that just defaulted. We saw defaults in downtown Los Angeles. You're seeing prime properties that have never been, that you couldn't rent. You couldn't get even an office in. And now they're defaulting because people aren't paying their rent. And here's the thing about commercial real estate. Guys, when values drop, okay, they can't refinance. When they don't have the building full and they don't have everything leased out, they can't refinance. It's problems that are just getting compounded day after day after day. I mean, do we need all these office buildings? That's going to be the next thing.
No, I was with one of my insiders in Nashville, and he was taking me around the city to all these massive buildings owned by all these massive conglomerates. They were all empty. Literally, they'd have 4 or 5 cars in the parking lot because of their new COVID policies and stuff. They literally do not need these buildings. They're literally walking away. And the CMBS market is so massive, it's going to make what happened with FTX look like a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to happen this year.
Well, it's very interesting, and before we finish, one thing I did was I ran into the silver guru, David Morgan, and I wanted to show you. I just did a few minutes with him, but just a brilliant guy, and I was lucky enough last night to have dinner with him, but let me show you the interview with David Morgan. Hey guys, I have an absolute treat for you. I ran into the one and only silver guru, David Morgan, and I was lucky enough to have dinner with him tonight and got to pick his brain on silver, and wanted to share this with you guys. But David, thank you for joining us too.
Well, Dan, thanks for asking.
No, I really appreciate this. And one thing you were talking about during dinner that I really want you to elaborate on for the audience is the history of silver and the history of prices. You were talking about how we saw different highs over the last few decades, and with your vast experience, if you could expand on that.
Was explaining was that I'm not a big Elliott wave guy, and I'm really not a study in it, but I do believe there's 3 major legs up, and you can look at the stock market, you can look at the real estate market. So normally we had this run in this current bull market from under $5 to 21. That was a high. In fact, Robert Prechter called that high, and so did I, both of us. He said from what I recall, he said that was it. That's as high as it's going to get. I said, no way. And we had the financial crisis of 2008, and silver hit a low of about under $9 temporarily. And it went from 9 all the way up to almost 50, 48 and change. So 9 times 5 is 45. So kind of like a 6-bagger. The third leg up usually is twice as good as the second leg, which I just described. So that means if we went up 5 or 6 times, the next leg could be 10 or 12. It's a rule of thumb. It doesn't hold 100% of the time, but it's a good indication. And if you flip back to something I've said 100 times that I picked up from Jeff Christian years ago, is 90% of the move comes in the last 10% of the time. Think about that. If you bought silver at an all-time high in January 1979, you bought it at an all-time high. Who buys a high? But it went 1 year up 850%. So buying a new high at the right time can make you wealthy fast. So the projection on silver from this next leg up could be, not would be, something along the order of maybe 120 up to maybe 200 based on those numbers. Does that guarantee anything? No, it doesn't, but it gives you a flavor for two things. It moves really fast and it can go like nothing else. Soybeans and silver can go to the moon really quickly.
That's great. That's fantastic. And a couple things, with the industrial uses of silver and just the demand, and there is just not enough silver to meet that demand right now with everything from EV cars to, photovoltaic to silver, silver in medical space, everything. I mean, just the demand is overwhelming right now.
Dan, you hit the nail on the head. And what's interesting is going back in time, there were a few things in the silver market that could have depleted it. One was wood preservative using silver. But if you did wood preservative everywhere that you wanted it to, it basically deplete the supply. So that was nixed. But you can't do it for solar. Solar is so powerful. It's right now around 10% of the market, projected to be 20-25% in the next decade, perhaps sooner. And that alone, with the other industrial uses that aren't going away, in theory, you're going to take up all the silver demand. So what does that mean? It means very little silverware, very little silver jewelry. What's the investment side going to do?
Yeah.
So this is very important for silver investors that got a little bit of a time horizon, because if you want a legacy investment and you're 40 or 50 and you can wait 10 years, I can't think of a better place to be
yeah.
than the
And
silver market.
the one thing I always tell people is to get started small. Look at even the pawn shops, look at the coin stores, look at getting yourself 1 ounce bars, 1 ounce coins, getting 10 ounce bars, because you can get that for under a few $100 right now. And pre 64 silver, 64 and earlier, is what they call junk silver, which is 90% silver, and that's a great investment right now. That's just made a huge run in the last few years, but it's also readily available that you can get from different coin places.
I'll argue with you a little bit. It's a pretty tight market. The bag market is pretty tight. There's a huge premium in the bag market. So many of those bags have been melted into bullion over the years.
You bring up a good point. The premiums right now. What do you think? Okay, on an ounce. I always tell people keep under $5 an ounce. Is that a good? Rule of thumb?
Rule of thumb. Sure it is, Dan. I think I wrote the 10 rules of silver investing for the Investing Rules book back in 20 years ago, and I said bet the most silver you can per dollar in quotation marks. So that means silver rounds really would be superior to a government stamped coin, because at the end of the day, it's an ounce of silver is an ounce of silver.
Or an iAllegedly coin too would be nice too.
Yes, iAllegedly are great coins.
Okay, awesome. So can you run through the 10 things real quick for us?
I could do a couple.
Well, do the ones off the top of your head.
Okay, off the top of my head, for rule number 1, no one wants to be a prophet of doom. But in the unlikely event of an all-out financial collapse, silver will be the money of last resort, not gold, because gold has too high a unit value, and silver will be used in everyday, barter.
Okay.
And another one that comes to mind is don't get a raw deal from your dealer. Okay. Getting the lowest price is not always the best deal. Many, especially in the 70s, went out of business by trying to cut prices to the point of where they couldn't produce the silver for their purchasers. Another one is too much of a good thing is too much of it. It's like cough syrup. If you take too much, you might get sick.
Okay.
So I recommended about 10% of your portfolio in the silver market. So those are 3 off the top.
Well, that's great. And, my brother's going to be thrilled that you were here. And I know my audience is going to be thrilled that you're here. But it was an absolute pleasure meeting you. Your expertise is second to none. I thank you for doing this quick video. And you're here at The Money Show. And everybody, check out the Morgan Report. Is that right?
Yeah, themorganreport.com.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you, David, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
And we're back.
That was great. That was really neat.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I almost felt like I was there.
Okay. Yeah, you almost did.
Yeah.
So, and just in closing, I always, the banking situation, the one thing that is crazy is First Republic. We haven't seen the last of these guys. They got a $30 billion infusion from all these different people. And here's the thing, guys, great story below that $100 billion was taken out of that bank in the last week. $100 billion. Yeah. There are regional banks, there are smaller banks that are going to go out of business. And, I've had people go to their credit unions. They've asked questions. How many risky loans do you have? One thing I want to bring up is that I have people saying that Wells Fargo is still in the mortgage industry. They're not in the mortgage industry. They've cut back so much and laid off hundreds and hundreds of people in the mortgage space. They're just barely processing loans right now.
Well, honestly, you can't trust Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo has been lying about their accounts, how many accounts they have, for literally close to a decade. You can't even take that serious. But for me, what I look at is right now, like with the $100 billion of outflows from First Republic, they have a secure line, literally a lifeline, CPR being put into their balance sheet right now by the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve has came out and said, not only are we not going to tell you what banks we are doing these swaps with right now, we're not going to tell you for a year after we're done, because it is such a big deal. They are so afraid of people figuring out how bad their bank is health-wise. They're afraid of people withdrawing. Like, this is to say, I'll give you an example. The amount of money that was lost, essentially, or the bailout that formed last month or during March, is equal to about 60% of all of 2008 during that banking crisis. And that was 1 month.
That's crazy.
And it's getting worse. And so I just did a video, I believe in the next 2 weeks, you're going to see another banking crisis form. You're going to see some regional banks having problems, going to be hitting the news. So I believe you're going to see that in the next 2 weeks. I can't tell you which banks, because honestly, we don't want to incite a run on the banks, but we're getting emails, both of us, from people inside, and they're
people
going,
that work at the
serious.
banks, people that say, hey, we've been warned, we have problems. You know, that's the other thing, is that I have two friends that live in two different areas, here in Vegas and in Southern California, that are foreclosure experts. And every one of their clients, and we added up one night during dinner, there were a total of 12 banks that they work with between them. Some of them cross over, but they've all told them, get ready for May. May is when they're going to start demanding the money back. Think about this, guys. There are people out there that have not made a house payment in 30 months, 30. And these people, they didn't accept the refinance. They didn't accept the deal, the forbearance. They didn't take the deal, and they just haven't responded to the banks.
Right now, there are over 600,000 homes that you could get paid upwards of $5,000 just to take over and assume the old terms of the mortgage from Mr. Cooper, one of the largest holders of mortgages, right? Now, what's scary about that is there are people right now racking up literally $200 million in debt. These are like, I'm getting this home for literally walking in, assuming the debt, right? Sometimes I could flip the property and make money, but they're not. They're cash flowing these properties. They're renting them to new people. This is what's scary. Those people are about to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
We're about to have a wave of job losses. I believe that will be on the scale of 10,000 jobs lost per day by the end of September this year. Mark my words. Right now, we're already at 2,000 or 3,000 jobs a day we're losing. And people just don't get that. And so we only could talk about the headlines, Amazon's, Google's, all that stuff. We're not talking about the companies that are laying off 100, 250, or 1,000. There's metrics out there that are showing we only are looking at the 1,000 layoff blocks and bigger. It's not the small jobs are losing right now. The restaurants that are losing. Think about how many people have restaurants raising their food prices, have less wait staff, so they can't only get like half that. You do the same
thing I do, and that when we go into a restaurant, how's it going? What are people ordering?
We're asking.
How about this? We went to a restaurant last night, and we don't have coffee anymore. We don't serve coffee at night. Huh?
Oh yeah.
We were
they're like, what are we ordering? Beignets. We need some coffee. Yeah, we don't do those.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll serve. And how much with beignets? $24.
Yeah. Wow.
$24 for 5 beignets.
Yeah. It's crazy, guys. So
stupid.
But again, thank you for coming on. We could do this for 12 hours, you know that. But again, guys, please don't forget to the like button. Please check out the Economic Ninja and his channel.
Thank you.
And it just, we do a lot of different stuff, guys. Oh, you're both doom and gloomers.
Oh, we are. Yeah, it's true. It's true. We're just telling you the truth. If you don't like the truth, there's videos of cats somewhere out here.
Catter Day. Enjoy.
Meow. I want to watch it right now.
Okay. Again, like, subscribe, take a look at the sponsor, guys, please. And Onward and Upward, guys, I will see you guys very soon. Don't forget to join the email list below.
See you guys.